So thanks.
Thank you, Asia. Now let's turn to the next speaker that will be properly Sol, and she will explain a little bit the project of Be and EarthDay. So the floor is yours. Take your time and then the time that you need. And so thank you very much for being here and for having the chance, giving the chance to us to show this wonderful project that is Be.
Thank you so much. Um, I'm just going to take the opportunity to share with you about a project that's coming together with, um, technically speaking, 2 people, and then 10 people, and then 100 people, and then thousands, and many more organizations, communities, movements that were coming together because we think that it's in order to, well, it sounds like we're all agreeing that we need to amplify and multiply our actions. So what we're doing is starting to bring together our resources and connect into do a campaign to raise awareness about the SOS that we have in the Amazon. Not enough people are aware of the most updated current scientific information, and a large part of that is because the journalists are unable to get the information out um, easily enough, and the alarm bells are not being rung. According to the science, um, the Amazon rainforest at the moment, if the deforestation continues as it is right now, we have 5% left. And at the moment, the mathematical calculation in time says approximately 5 months from now. That is now. The reason they're cutting down the trees is also for cow meat and soy beans that we eat, and also even in the whole climate change movement, the veganism, at the end of the day, it's also soy. We have to think really hard together about how we do this. If every action that we take, we consider has 7.8 billion people doing it, the impact of 7.8 billion people doing exactly what I'm doing every given moment, then you can start to understand maybe, leaving the water running or leaving the fridge door open. Anyway, lots of examples. So Earth Day this year in 2020, for Earth Day's 50th anniversary, we did an online broadcast, and we had 13 and a half hours of footage and arts and scientists and TED Talks that were sent in. And we're looking to do a similar event this Earth Day, but mainly highlight what others are doing. So, kind of like what you're doing, I'd be happy to collaborate and talk to you about what you're doing and how we can do more together, how we can help really, like, just, yeah, get this party started. Let's just clean it up. Just it's whatever happened. Let's leave it in the past. We got to face forward now. I mean, learn from the past, 100%. That's what we're doing. And then pass it on. It's like medicine. You have to give different medicine to different people and different ages, different stages of life, different consequences, different variables. So really, more than anything, I think share what we know, keep our trusted sources close to us, validate and verify, and then build our trust circles, keep the good people close, and teach each other well, and love each other a lot, and be forgiving, and see from each other's perspectives. And in unity, when we look at ourselves as all connected, and Corona, I think, surely helped with that, then it's actually bird's eye view. It's like we have a whole new game to play, but we can do it better, and we can have fun while we're doing it because we can, because it's just a choice. And yeah, so it's called it. We have a song called Together. It was Unicef's 50th anniversary anthem, and I was a 15-year-old girl when I sang it, and I want to bring it back and teach it to other people because it inspired much of who I am and what I do, and it's called Together, and it says, together all is one, it can be done. And it says, gather up your strength, go out and tell your friends. Any action, even a fraction, makes a difference in the end. The future starts here and now and can be bright. The hopes of tomorrow are born tonight. And that's by all of us doing a little something, giving a little something, whoever can, and being compassionate while we do it. I think, yeah, these are examples of how it is. And we need voices like yours and assertive and getting the real facts out there, but also calming it down and saying, but it's going to be okay if we do it now. Now, we've been saying now for a long time. This time we mean it. Wolf. So yeah, I'm working with the Indigenous in the Amazon, many people, to help amplify their voices, because we must stop the deforestation. We must slow it down. We must buy ourselves some time. And what we need for that is everybody's support. We need all hands on deck. Every voice is important. Every choice is important. Now it's Christmas and holiday season, and we're all going to spend the little bit of money we all have right now. But there are small businesses that could really use a hand. There are loads of startups trying to come up with solutions, or already have solutions and can prototype it and get into the next stages until implementation. We've got loads of experts, and I think things are going in the right direction. We just need more support. We need more people to share this information. Keep going, keep going. Tell all the people you care about. Talk about it. It doesn't have to be alarm bells, but then you can start to learn what's green and what's greenwashing. It's very important, because we have wisdom, we have intelligence, and if we use it wisely, then we'll raise our quality of life. We won't lose our quality of life. You know, healing back the earth, it's a huge opportunity, it's a huge honor, it's a great challenge, and it's something we can write our own book and be proud of. Let's write a book that we'll be proud to read to our children, you know, and teach in the educational systems. And do what's right, not what's easy. What we're talking about is very moral. And I think there are enough of us that agree with the moral value, enough of us to get at least past the 3.5 minimum % we need, but showing the way how. And I think by example, and what you guys are doing is exactly that. So thank you. Oh, the website. Yeah. You can share, give me share screen.
No.
Well, we have a website right now. Oh, I know what I can do. The hand signal. We have a hand signal. I'll do it like this, and then I'll show you. Okay, ready? So the whole project is based on a philosophy that says, be aware of the impact of our choice on ourselves, others, and life. And so what does it mean to be together, or what does it mean to be empathetic, or what does it mean to be sustainable to yourself, others, and life? And if we are all one, then let's be one. And so it's called Be, and the hand signal goes like this. We are one. Open it up. It's a Be. Together, we are being based on 3 principles of respect to ourselves, others, and life. It's about me, it's about we, and together we are being and doing. Together they create an infinity. Together we're building a home made with love. Be1. And the campaign we're doing is a song for children and inviting everyone to sing with us. So at the moment, here, I'll share my screen. This is currently what the website looks like. Hold on. We have a world map where we've been collecting all the initiatives and projects and movements and communities that are already developing or have developed educational content and sustainable solutions and events that go on and workshops. And it's exactly like you said, it's scientists, it's lawmakers, it's all sorts. And we've got people all over the world. You can sign yourself up as an individual, you can sign yourself up as an organization, or you can tell about others that you know about and what they are doing. And last year for Earth Day, we did a great broadcast. It was a big adventure. Yes, it's ongoing. Now we've started doing meetings between Indigenous leaders and youth. We introduced Sonia Guajajara, who is the executive of APIB, the articulation of the Indigenous peoples of Brazil. And we introduced her to Greta Thunberg. We're working on other meetings. On the climate reality 24 hours, we had Indigenous leaders from tribes from South America, Amazon, and North America. We had the Honorable Chief Looking Horse from North America, came to meet Kreta and Ayashi, who came from the Amazon especially, and they shared their SOS with us. So now we're working on launching a song, inviting everyone to sing, and combining our networks, and then being able to tell the world about the SOS that we have in the Amazon, and bringing forward the solutions and raising money first and foremost to help them deal with Corona, because they are abandoned at the moment by their government. They need medical supplies, medical support, and some changes in legislation. There have been auctions recently with tens of thousands of square kilometers of the Amazon have just been sold to fossil fuel companies so they can explore and explore the land there. And there are blocks of land where they've just drawn a circle around the indigenous tribes, and all the land around it is going to be ravaged. And this is for pennies of prices. So we're gathering information, and I'd like to, in this case, if I'm going to share screen, I'd like to show you some of their messages. Actually, I'm going to share screen to Facebook. And pardon me, the computer is slow. Okay, well, at the moment, we really need to understand that above all the challenges that we have around the world right now, and I say this very delicately and carefully, if deforestation continues the way that it is right now, and in 4 or 5 months we haven't managed to slow down the deforestation, the forest is a living body ecosystem, okay? It will give itself a command to self-destruct if it doesn't have the conditions it needs to survive, because it's all connected. And if the forest passes that point where we've cut down so many trees that the forest doesn't have what it needs in order to continue behaving like one uh, entity, the forest, the living, breathing forest that has, like our body has organs, there's, it's interconnected. Um, then once it gives the self destruct command, the forest starts to die. Now, plants breathe in CO2 and they breathe out oxygen. But if they are going to wilt and die at such a huge quantity, the amount of CO2 that the plants that die are going to let out into the air, for example, is going to throw off the balance of the oxygen in the atmosphere, in Earth's atmosphere. So we humans who are dependent on oxygen are going to basically not be able to breathe. And so, in order to prevent that, we are trying to raise awareness as much as possible to do whatever is possible, including the Mercosur deal, which is only going to amplify it, raise awareness about the auctions that are happening, do what we can to protect especially the voluntary tribes who are in the peoples, excuse me, who are in um, the rainforests by choice. They won't be able to live off of just the trees that surround their homes. It's an entire ecosystem in order to keep their way of life. And the wisdom that they carry of how to live in harmony with nature is generations of wisdom. And with the corona killing the elders, there's a lot of wisdom lost as well. So we are in an emergency situation, and we need to raise awareness and get this to the press and to the media, to the news. So we need to share it on social as much as possible. And you're welcome to go to Be's page, which I'm going to share with you now quickly. And here the Climate Social Forum is currently at the top. And here's the meeting with Sonia and Greta and other posts that we have from the past. And you can see a lot of information here, a lot of Climate Social Forum, a lot about the Indigenous. I get the information directly from Apib or other contacts about the reality and what's going on. And this is how we can, if we can all share it, just pass it on, pass it on, pass it on. Thank you very much. Follow us, help us get the word out, and it's time to be together for a change.
Thank you, Sol, for sharing your experience about Be. And
Thank you very much.
if there are questions for Sol, you can make. I don't know if Asia or Madalena, do you have some questions for them? Eventually, I have one. Yeah. My question is, I think that this effort has pushed through connecting to all the people of the world, and as same as Asia, which I don't know, challenges did you face with, for example, connecting with indigenous people, but also which outcomes did you get from this experience?
Sorry, can you repeat the end of the question?
Which challenges do you face, for example, with connecting with people so remote on eventually, for example, the indigenous people, and also which outcomes do you take, which are lesson learned or something that helped you to grow up?
Okay. Well, culture, I would say culture and mentality first and foremost, I think, because everyone comes now, we're in a global community, we're working with people who are from all over the world. Some we've never met in our lives, uh, some we've, you know, even met just virtually, but there's also the cultures of the people and where they come from in dialogue, in approaching, in invitations. Um, and um, that was a challenge for me, I think, also because we're using technology, but none of us are actually experts yet. Um, so the main thing I think is getting better and better at using the technology and building trust with one another. I think the relationship is most important.
Thank you. Let me know if there are other questions for Sol. Even though we take a break of 5 minutes waiting for the last guest of the day, and of course, I invite you all, also Sol, Asia, and Madalina, to the closing plenary of the Climate Social Forum. And now let's stop for one moment the live stream. Ciao, buongiorno, Maria Grazia.
Buongiorno.
Ciao Giancarlo. Aspettiamo l'ospite di adesso. Adesso, Maria Grazia, in realtà ti chiederei dopo di ingaggiare se vuoi il dibattito, nel senso adesso c'è una speech di un ragazzo che si occupa di Just Transition e ti avevo invitato appunto come osservatore, poi dopo ci sarà la talk con Greenpeace.
Ah, ok.
Vediamo. Nel frattempo, allora, aspetta che forse sta scrivendo.
Eccoci,
Ciao Stefania,
ci
benvenuta.
risiamo.
Eccoci, stiamo aspettando adesso lo speaker, il ragazzo che deve parlare all'inizio.
Ok,
Vediamo. Nel frattempo, beh, non so se sì, vi siete già conosciuti in realtà a Roma.
sì,
Con noi c'è Maria
sì.
Grazia Midulla. Grazie. Allora, vediamo. Sì, aspettiamo. Nel frattempo qualche ragguaglio per la sessione dopo, che sarà con Greenpeace per Maria Grazia. sarete tu e Luca Iacoboni, perché avevo invitato anche Katiuscia Eroe, ma non può venire, quindi il tema sarà appunto i sussidi ambientalmente dannosi. Faremo la talk in English, vi farò 3 domande giusto per ingaggiare la discussione, lasciandovi uno spazio all'inizio per un intervento di un po' più lungo, possiamo fare anche 7 minuti per ciascuno. Dopodiché, dopo i 7 minuti e le 2 domande che vi faccio, lasciamo il dibattito.
Ok.
Adesso aspettiamo, appunto, questo slot ci doveva essere un ragazzo di Yango in realtà che aveva chiesto di parlare, però vediamo un attimo se... Ok, sta arrivando. Ok. È arrivato. Hello? Hi, Samuel. Can you hear us? Hi, Samuel.
It's good to be here, please.
Yes. Okay. We are gonna start because we are a little bit late. I will introduce the other speakers. There is with us Stefania Romano that will be also helping in moderating then the discussion, and Maria Grazia Midulla from WWF Italy. So if you want to proceed with your speak about just transition, so you can go ahead. Okay.
All right. Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak here. I want to take this time out to appreciate the panelists, Domenico, and the rest of the team, Giancarlo Zelloni, Maria Grazia, and Stefano. It's wonderful meeting you all. My name is Samuel Adurki. I'm from Nigeria. I'm a climate change and energy advocate, and I advocate for just transitions and youth development and involvement in climate change and policy decision making. And I've been privileged to be part of this year's Paris Peace events, which held earlier this month, as a delegate. So speaking on energy mainstreaming and then ending speculative finance of of climate and green innovations, and also working on how to strategically implement the Paris agreements and then the Green Deals. We understand that there are different focal points and there are different objects of the Paris agreements, and the items that are focusing on the finance, on the adaptation and the mitigation approach of climate change requires that most people, most governments be up and doing and should take responsibility in financing more sustainable and just transitions from fossil fuels. And in this way, the importance of youth engagement and collaborative work in developing these action plans, either for government or for multinationals that are in the finance, in the sectors like oil, for instance, oil and gas, needs a lot of coordination and a lot of partnerships that should actually monitor and observe how true they are to the transition agreements. For instance, even more money actually, or more finances that are focused on financing fossil fuels can be diverted into clean energy, as we are seeing in some other organizations in some other countries, mostly developed countries across the globe. If such can be replicated in all underdeveloping or developing nations, I think the transition will be faster and more transparent. So it is imperative then that we all come together and place an action like we did at the Financing Commons Summit in the build-up to the COP16, such as these events we are having now. We can always gather policymakers, decision makers, influencers of decisions and policy on the table to discuss the best way and the strategic ways to push this forward. And this also allows for non-governmental organizations, civil society organization engagement, and youth participation in pushing forward the petitions to the COP presidency and to presidents and leaders of nations, ministries, and agencies that are saddled with the responsibility of energy transition. For instance, in Nigeria, we still have a little more to achieve in the energy transition. And when we're talking about energy transition, it's not financing projects that are just particular to using solar to light up lanterns and all that. We should talk about areas like clean cooking industry. We should talk into areas like transportation, which actually we see as the major sectors or major industries that contribute to the global warming and carbon combustions. So there should be also ways of investing and divesting into sectors like agriculture for climate change mitigation or adaptation in whatever way, using energy to power sustainable development in a more feasible and sustainable way. So I think at this stage, we just need to go beyond calling on beyond chasing shadows and into making strong decisions at this point. And towards the COP26, which is scheduled for next year, 2021, I think we have a long way to go in coming together, because 2021 is just by the way, and we need to come together and put forward some initiatives and make some really loud noise out there to organizations, to governments, in our local societies, gather together civil society organizations that are partaking and that are true to and are committed to the transition state of energy globally. So at this point too, I want to advise that if we can, on our own way, help to take initiatives such as education and awareness, primarily to young people, to them seeing that the future that is being affected is due to climate change, and that young people constitutes a large number of every economy and the population. So to say, like 60% of the generation can still be considered as young, ranging between, according to the African Youth Charter, they range between 15 and 35 years, while according to the Global Charter, they range between 15 and 30, or 18 and 30. So youth should actually, we should actually help to develop the capacities of youth in learning about alternatives to fossil. And then they should also start taking initiatives that can actually help them to scale solutions like innovations and their ideas and make it work, and also financing those initiatives. And in those little micro scales, those initiatives that are being financed can actually find expressions into the carbon footprints that are being set by countries and nationals. So on this table, there would be decision makers like ministers, as we all have. We can have organizations like National Renewable Energy Labs. We can have IRENA and international energy agencies and major organizations globally that are championing the cause of energy transition. We can have them to come speak. We can have top policy makers to come sit together and make decisions for the young people. And while making decisions for the young people, we cannot leave the young people out of the decision-making process. Rather, we should bring them to the table and make them more inclusive and participatory in taking actions and decisions. And we should actually see a way of making investors and all these organizations, like we have already the IRENA and the European Youth Network, are doing a lot in the SDG7 youth constituency, where I've been opportune to showcase my initiatives and my organization's initiatives. We have a lot of young people that are being trained by organizations, international energy organizations like the REN 21, IRENA, and the lots of them. So we can have more civil society participation. We can have more engagement on financing youth initiatives, on educating youth and making them go into deep research and development on energy issues. And this is a way of being just to ourselves. This is a way of being fair to the youth and being fair to the future generation of the youth. And at this point, I think I can actually let you know also that we can all do this together if we only believe that we have a common problem and we work towards achieving a solution for our problems by setting targets for ourselves. We can have targets for the next 1 year, the next 5, 10, 15 years. And this is how we create a future, a just and resilient future for everyone, where no one is left behind in any way. So we should also look more into the economic aspects of things. While developing microgrid projects, we should consider that beyond these projects, or we should find ways where the projects can contribute to the economic lifestyles of people that are being targeted. For instance, if we have communities that are being targeted at development or at a pilot, we should consider the whole community approach of engaging everyone in seeing to the fact that they have to develop these plans themselves, because the plans should be for them. They should be able to take responsibility at maintaining infrastructures that are located and sited in their localities for development, so that resilience can actually be built over time, and it would not be at the detriment, economic detriment of investors and governments or personal organizations that are coming up with such projects in their community. So at this point, I should also talk more about the finance. Like recently, the European Green Deal that is being set out, we should actually push more to let there be a transparency in the process of financing clean energy and the other instruments that are entailed in the just transition measures. So at this point, I would like to drop my points. Where I am right now is actually very noisy. So I would like to drop my point and let the moderator take over. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Samuel. Thank you also for your insights and your points. And I want, before giving the floor to the audience and maybe to engage a brief discussion, I want to ask to you if you want to share with us your experience. You are the founder of Innovea. This is also an example of concrete activation of youth also towards a transition that you said that need to be just and need to foster also the fact that no one need to be left behind. So maybe if you want to tell more about your experience on that.
Yeah, thank you very much. As a youth and as an individual who is passionate about development and advancement, and I had background in the areas of science and technology as a physicist, electronics, and graduates with background in renewable energy, in artificial intelligence solutions, environment physics, where I carried out most of my research. I've always tried to build a career around the environment, technology, innovation, and most importantly, the youth. So this has been my motivation at getting exposed to events that actually has helped me in developing personally and taking up initiatives for myself and the community at large. Saw me characterizing ionizing radiations from waste, and we saw that the volume of waste generated in globally actually can actually power uh, the entire global energy deficit. In what sense? If we choose to domesticate our waste through biomass, biogas, we can actually see that there's going to be a circular economy model that can be built in developing waste and turning it into usable energy. And we can also identify that there are important factors while addressing different issues that are related to people. Basically, for instance, in Africa, there's always a mindset that is negative generally, but we should look beyond the mindset. We should actually focus on how we can ensure connectivity of our initiatives, of our ideas, of our solutions with the audience. We have to work on the cultural psychologies of the audience we are targeting. We have to make them see reasons why it is important to take some decisions and take up some responsible consumption pattern. And while doing this, we should watch the scenario, because most of them might just get overwhelmed with the information. So we shouldn't give them too much information. Rather, we should act and take decisions and take initiatives. And when they begin to see the results of the actions and the initiatives and the decisions and probably policies that have been made, they can begin to see the effects on the environment, on the economy, on individual lifestyles and livelihoods, development, for instance, then they begin to get more interested in this. So the basic challenges we've experienced as youth initiatives locally and regionally is we always have little support from the government, of course, you know that, and that's why we are developing action plans and, of course, building enterprises as well as social enterprises, and as well as coming up with a non-profit that will not actually work as a government entity, but they work independently to solve community-based solution and problems and challenges. So I will encourage more youths to get engaged in such causes and then have a way of interfacing with the government at taking them to their words and holding them accountable and responsible. Like I used to say that at this point, youths have to step up the game. And according to the theme of this event, step up. So we can step up the game by actually taking the challenge to decision makers, policy makers, actors, and global leaders to actually make sure that the green deals are working for the green sector recovery. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Samuel. Thanks to you. And yeah, one of the goals of the social forum, climate social forum, is to connect also and create what we say the virtual agora among different actors inside the climate change scenario: youths, experts, professionals, NGOs, and so on. And in fact, properly starting from today, we will foster also the discussion in the next tables of today. But today we have with us Maria Grazia Midula, that is from WWF Italia, and Stefania Romano, that is from DM25 and Climate Reality Project. And so also this environment now is like a way to foster this dialogue in order to find the ideas and proposal for a just transition. The topics of today, as we addressed, are more on finance and economy. And also you pointed out in your point, Samuel, the need to finance and to make investments in a way on and apply resources on, for example, you cited energy projects or energy transition activities and so on. And properly on that, I will open maybe the discussion, giving also the floor to Stefania and to Maria Grazia to have the opportunity also to discuss on this point, how we can mobilize, for example, finance and resources towards more innovation projects and sustainable projects.
I don't know whether Maria Grazia, you want to just talk fast. I would be very happy if you want to give an overview and then I just follow. You let me know, or I can give some hints.
I can say a few words because I was supposed to be in another discussion, and I felt myself in this one. But it's interesting, and I'm always happy to know somebody from other countries, especially from Africa. And I wanted just to say that we are discussing a lot about just transition and recovery plans in Europe, as you know. And I think there are different elements that we are discussing at the moment. And the reality is very different, but I think that you can find something that can be useful. First of all, on finance, yes, there should be some way of helping the communities, especially in regions and the countries in which that are mostly fossil fuel based. This is a part of what the Green Fund should be about, and this is also part about also international. It's something that international cooperation should help about. But the debate we are in now in Italy and in Europe in general is how to spend the money, because of course it is important to help communities, not better directly fuel the initiatives from communities, but at the same time it's important to have a framework in which these projects happen, in order to be sure that the money are not spent for spot initiative on one issue or another, but they are spent in order to create an environment, to create a system for the transformation, for the transition. This is the first issue. The second issue is of course that in some communities fossil fuels are important also because they employ people from the communities, and it is very important that the government should assure them an environment in which there could be possible for people to go from a job to another job, or at least to have a social insurance or some provision in order not to suffer too much. That's important, and I think for doing that, it's very important that there is a plan, there is a strategy, there is a vision. That's exactly what we are saying to Italy, to the government of Italy, and I think that's exactly what you could be asking from your government as a youth and as constituencies. But last but not least, I think that the initiatives from the bottom-up initiatives from communities are a key, it's very important that you see the transformation that is taking place, not as something that is happening in one field or another, in transportation and not in energy, and not in energy efficiency in buildings and so on, because this transformation is taking place on all sectors, in all sectors, and that's important. It's also very important that communities can bring in their culture, because sometimes the culture is a way of pursuing the objective, the goals, in a way that the market is not able to decide and understand. It's important so that all this transformation is done involving people, not on top of people, not on top of communities. That's something important for people in Nigeria, as it is for people in every other country. Over.
Thank you very much, Maria Grazia, for your point of view. And I want to ask also to Stefania, giving her the floor. Maria Grazia addressed more the necessity of finding how to spend in a right way the money. And to you, I want to ask how to avoid to spend bad the money. So
that's the I'm very much afraid that the national resilience and recovery plans are not going to be using the money properly, and that's, I think, a real danger for just for us Italians, but also, you know, just as for us as European citizens. And this is something that we have been discussing. We have had a very interesting discussion with Yanis Varoufakis on the 9th of October on the Green New Deal and the key messages, and Lorenzo Fioramonti was there, the former Minister of Education, and he was very blunt about that. We have to be very careful how we're going to be using the money, because most of this money are loans and we have to give them back. And we know that somehow our bureaucracy in Italy is very cumbersome, and also the number of the projects that we're going to be submitting are just not necessarily focused on industry and social requalification, rather on ordinary maintenance. So we have to be very careful, because I think that the clock is ticking, and it's really time to take action. And when we talk about financing, I was listening very interestingly to Samuel talking about his experience in Africa, and he was mentioning some agencies like IRENA. I was working with them very much when I used to work for the Italian Minister of the Environment. I was seconded to international organizations, and we have run a number of activities. So it was just saying, just highlighting the fact that we have to be co-creating action. And I like very much when he also said we have to be pushing more investments from the European Union, because they're doing a lot, but not necessarily enough, not necessarily they're up to the expectations. And Maria Grazia was saying very clearly that not only we have to be careful on how the money is spent, but also we have to be relying on international cooperation and on communities. Now, there is a point that I think it's core to the problem. We really have to be looking at the core of the problem. And the core of the problem is somehow the financial system. And we know that I mean, when we talk about the financial system, we talk about banks. Now, in 2019, the world's largest banks invested more than $2.36 trillion in sectors that governments and scientists agree are the primary drivers of biodiversity destruction. Now, banks play a key role in the financial system that somehow free rides on biodiversity. We have to say that bluntly. We are in the midst of a mass extinction event, which is termed as Anthropocene extinction, and that's the first of its kind that has been caused by humans. So humans have impacted nearly every corner of the planet, and scientists are saying it clearly. They're warning about biological annihilation. Now, the focus has always been put on governments and companies. They have been held as liable, but we have to be looking at the actors of the finance sectors, because they have largely eluded and evaded scrutiny. Now, why does it matter? It does matter because they are financing those activities that somehow cause biodiversity loss. Our human life, our survival depends on nature, and COVID-19 has shown it very clearly. I mean, nature underpins our health, our societies, our economies, and if we just radically alter nature, then we create the conditions in which pandemics emerge. So it's not that the environmental destruction is an unfortunate byproduct of economic developments. It's the other way around. It's just quite the reverse. So our abusive relationship with nature is contributing to a hole in the economy of $8 trillion, rising unemployment, social inequality. So somehow half of the world's GDP is in that to nature, in the services that nature provides for activities that somehow, from which human beings are benefiting and are directly causing biodiversity loss, like fishing, mining, and the supply chain from retail or processing to trade commodities and construction. Now, there is a number of banks that somehow are liable, that are just the largest exposure to biodiversity risk, and they are in the US, they are in Europe, they are in China, they are in Japan. That they are responsible for 32% of their loans to infrastructures, 25% with metal and mineral mining, and the further 20% with fossil fuels. So it's to prevent extinction. I mean, we have to make sure that banks stop funding those activities, because somehow it's just the governments that allow banks to be running activities on which are like food production system, forestry, mining, fossil fuels, infrastructures, tourism, the relocation of goods and people all around. Those are the primary drivers of global extinction. And Maria Grazia was saying it quite clearly before. We need international cooperation. Now, I have worked on behalf of the Italian ministry in that very field, because I was seconded to international organizations. And I was in Japan when there was the convention, the IT Global Biodiversity in 2010. But none of the targets have been met. Just 18 years ago, we had the World Summit on Sustainable Development. 20 years ago, we had the Rio Summit. Now, the point is that humans are consciously destroying the biodiversity and the ecosystem services that we rely on. That's absurd, but that's the reality. So clearly, current policies and conservation efforts are insufficient to protect our environment and sustainably make a sustainable use of nature. So what we really need is a transformative change all across economic, social, political, and technological segments. But the economic actors are like major, and they have to be rewriting the rules with responsibility and coming up with a new cultural somehow setup. So this is major, and this is something that somehow, I mean, has to be pointed out. We have to be. It's time for changing, reorganizing the system that we have, that has been producing this. I mean, pollution, climate change, and then the negative effects that we are experiencing like COVID-19.
Thank you, Stefania, and thank you all for your insight. Now I will open the floor for also the participants if they have some question or they want to intervene into the discussion. Even if the speakers want to reply also to the current statements. And also, I just remember one very important thing. I mentioned about the Climate Social Forum, and one also of the goals of the Climate Social Forum is to foster discussion in order to propose ideas and like stimulate the dialogue on that. And for this, we have created these documents, these track documents, one of each of the main tracks that we call the climate action paths that we are addressing. So feel free to fill in your inputs and insight inside the documents. They are briefly structured with the 3 guiding questions that are the ones of the Talanoa dialogue. So where we are, the state of art of the problem, where do we want to go? So which are the goals to go beyond the problems, and how do we get there? So methodology and strategy, both for the local, national, and global level. So Giancarlo, you can open the microphone and also speak. So please go ahead.
Yes, thank you. I've just sent a question. I read the question. There would be a need for reliable political partners in the institutions to ensure proper use of resources. This is the most important question, how to face this challenge.
Okay. Who wants to take the floor? We can make a round of intervention on that.
Can I start?
Go ahead.
Okay. I will just give you my own experience, because I have worked for the Italian Minister of the Environment for a long time, and I've seen setting up very many policies, frameworks, conventions all across and all around. So there is a lot of responsibility which has to do with the political setup and approach of the situation. But I was in Rio +20 in 2012, and I was listening to one of the major, I would say, player in that political player, I would say, Pepe Mujica, the former president of Uruguay, and when his speech was really astounding. It was really different, because he wasn't just saying, okay, we're just working on that, that's what we are doing, just kind of filling the forms with all of very good words. No, I was just saying it very clearly. I mean, we created a society which is not working, and when he's asked about what the solution is, I mean, he doesn't really have a solution. He says it just reminds us that somehow the economic development is useless unless happiness is part of the equation. So we're just pushing for economic development, forgetting that somehow we are happy when we have sound human relations. So the problem is political, but first of all, the problem comes from us. I mean, we really have to change the way how we have set up the societies. It's very simple, but it cannot be GDP, that will solve our problem. It's not technology that is going to be solving our problem. It's just us. I mean, we are consciously destroying the environment, so it has to come from us. But each of us, so it's politicians, it's bankers, it's artists, it's indigenous communities, it's poets, it's it has to be coordination, but we really have to change the approach, the mindset, the cultural, societal patterns. That's pivotal.
Thank you.
Thank you, Stefania. Also take the chance, if the other speaker want to make their statement. Samuel, if you want to add something.
There's nothing to happen now. I think we've all spoken well, and we just need to go beyond talking, and we need to take actions, visible actions, measurable impacts, and making sure what we're discussing actually is yielding results for us. So beyond this, we should actually work on whatever it is we've been working on before, establish more partnerships, to foster development for the just transition, we should push for more actions, because if we keep pushing for more, then we keep getting results. If we don't keep pushing for more, we get less results, and we may not even actually totally maximize the finances that are around the spaces for the just transitions we're clamoring for. So it is important these actions keep growing, the voices keeps complementing the actions, and the two should be on the pari passu, how we can actually successfully get results for our advocacies. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Samuel. Maria Grazia, if you want to add something.
Sorry, did you hear what I said?
Okay.
I'm sorry, but I cannot hear very well, so I couldn't hear what Samuel said. So go ahead.
Please let me just make this remark again. I said at this point we should just focus on how to actually bring our actions and our words into alignment, and the two should go in pari passu as to driving impacts and measuring impacts of our actions and our agitations, not just to the government but to the agencies that are in charge, the caucus, and then people that are actually the major decision makers, and they should be held accountable and responsible for the just transitions requirements. So doing, we can actually finally get results for our agitations and what we as environmentalists or as development practitioners have been working towards for a long time, so that our efforts are not jeopardized by indecisions. Because if we don't keep pushing, if we don't keep talking, then they begin to get relaxed, and then there's a tendency that our inputs are jeopardized, and then our voices are not heard, and then our actions are in vain. So in order to forestall this, we need to take more action to complement our words and our advocacies. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Samuel. Maria Grazia, if you want to add something to the previous statements.
Yeah, it's difficult for me to come in because I really cannot get what Samuel is saying. There is a big noise. I don't know if I'm the only one who gets
No,
it.
it's a background noise, Maria Grazia, it's true. A lot of background noise.
Yeah, but anyway, I see that somebody is saying about the political partners. I think that's an issue in every country, and that's for sure. And that's where the civil society comes in, Samuel. I think that's precisely the role of civil society as a whole. So I mean, also it's. I think that the civil society globally can reinforce the action of civil society locally. That's also important. And I'm sure that the different youth movement like Fridays for Future and so on will help a lot on this. And but of course it means that making also connections and making sure that you don't go from unreliable partners or officials or systems to other unreliable people. That's for sure. Sometimes that's particularly difficult, and I remember a lot of negotiations about this issue, because sometimes what happens in the negotiation is that a sort of a patronizing attitude from the Western institutions, and that's something that cannot help civil society locally. So it's an issue that should be dealt primarily by local communities and civil societies, and then also with the help of the global civil constituencies and or even institutions. But if the local communities are not active, there is no hope. I mean, for solving the problem at all.
Thank you, Maria Grazia, and thank you for all the speakers. Now we are finished our time for this session, and we are starting the other session also with Maria Grazia. We'll reach also Luca Iacoboni of Greenpeace, and the topic will be how to avoid environmental harmful subsidies and stop them. So Maria Grazia, you're very welcome to stay here. Yes, Luca has just arrived. And thank you very much for this session. Now we'll stop for 1 second the live session, and we will go live suddenly with the next round. Parallelly, there will be another session on Article 6, where there is also Samuel as a panelist. So I invite Samuel to join the other room. And thank you very much to all, and let's stop for 1 second and reprise with the next roundtable. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Of course, Stefana, you also invited to stay.
Ah, okay. I didn't know that.
Ok. So, ora stop un secondo. Ok, allora